know. And I'm not saying that, but there's no excuse for your backups to be that bad. Like, I mean, they're really bad. I mean, like, they look like a junior high team playing against a high school team at times today.
Yeah, they did
And it
tonight.
wasn't in the start. I mean, they really did tonight. And so, but yeah, I think there is money though. I mean, yeah, Indiana, people talk about Mark Cuban. He paid, but he gave them how many million to get rid of Tom Allen, right? I mean, what, $15 million he donated to get rid of him. So this is why, but here's why. Once you realize you don't have the right guy, that's why you get rid of him. It doesn't matter how much it costs because you're going to, and you find the right guy because you'll end up okay. But there's no, this is Illinois recruiting better is definitely a part of this. I also think that at some point you have to, I think there's the way they schemed made them look worse than they actually are. Because if you're out of position, it's like little things. You look slow. Like, how many times were they playing inside leverage on as a DB, and then the guy would get inside and still beat them to the inside? You look slower because you're going the wrong direction. But it's not a speed thing. That's literally a technique and a discipline thing. And they did not have technique and discipline. And when you don't have that's a coaching issue. And you can say you're putting in your subs. Your subs got to know what they're supposed to do. I'm sorry. It's just they have to be better at that. It doesn't mean you're going to be as good. You're not going to be as physically developed, maybe, or you're not going to have this. But they can understand what they're supposed to do. And I just don't understand why that happens. And I know Brett was frustrated. He had to be. I mean, I was frustrated. I was watching. I will say this: I was so hyped about this game. Right, I mean, pregame, I was so hyped. Like I was bouncing. Like I was fired up for this game, and then it was like I was not fired up a few minutes later. But this is, they got to recruit better in the sense that they have too many guys who just don't belong. Look like they don't belong out there. Whether they're too small or they're too slow, whatever. But I think the depth is what showed up for me. As much as anything, not being able to, you have guys out there who don't belong once they go to the second string. And that's hard. That makes it really hard because you have so much pressure. And now you have with Clark and Scott out, and then you lost Patterson. You start going along. Then nobody left in the backfield, defensive backfield hardly. And that's tough. So I agree with the recruit better. You're going to pay guys. You've got revenue sharing. Everybody's getting money. But talent eval is huge. But I also think you can't take a bunch of projects who can't compete. And there's guys on the back end who just can't compete at this level.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a challenge. And I know that I was most disappointed by the fact that the combination of the offensive line struggled. Altmaier lost his confidence a little bit, and then there were just not a lot of separation from a pass receiver side. I mean, I thought if you really wanted to go complete passes, you just throw balls that Cole Rusk is the only one who can get. I mean, I mean that he doesn't have to separate. He can just go up to a higher level. It was challenging there, and then defensively, I think there was either fatigue or a little bit of quit or both, because the Illini have been pretty good about dealing with the running game, and of course they had no answers for really anything that Indiana did tonight. So, is it possible that this Illinois team obviously had a horrific night? Are they as bad as what they look today, or is there some sort of medium area in between? Steve, I'll let you tackle that one.
Well, the first thing I did when I saw how bad this was going is check and see how Duke did tonight, because I was like, well, we ran away from Duke, so could we actually be that bad? And Duke did win tonight. Or at least they were winning last I saw. It looked like they were in control. I can't remember where they were playing all of a sudden. They were playing somebody pretty decent.
NC State, North Carolina State.
Yeah, so they're playing somebody pretty decent, and they were walking away from them. So it looked like well, so obviously we're not that bad. I think this is more of a situation of effort and getting some confidence back. I think that maybe they stole our milk money in the first half, and our boys kind of went back and just kind of went back into the corner and shrank away from it. Will we be able to get that confidence back, the swagger back? I don't know. I mean, probably when you've got a 105-man roster, you can probably get some guys back who are ready to go out there and hit. I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit. I don't think that we're lacking talent. I think that Indiana came out guns a-blazing, and I think that they just played a whole lot harder than we did. I think their guys wanted to come and hit us. I saw a whole lot of great runs by their backs and wide receivers and their quarterbacks, frankly, that weren't about being stronger. They just didn't go down because there was great effort. I mean, how many broken tackles did we see tonight from Illinois runners? Like very few. One could say that it's because the Indiana tacklers are better. I think it's a matter of our guys just not really wanting to get hit in the mouth anymore, which is embarrassing to say. But I also look at that as a good side, meaning, in the right circumstances, we could come back and we could turn this around. So I'm a Steeler fan, of course, and I will you guys aren't going to be familiar with this, but back in 1989, they lost their first two games like 95-10, and they turned around and made a playoff and won a playoff game. And it was 100% a matter of them getting punched in the mouth and shrinking away after the first two games, and then kind of getting their feet under them, won a couple close games, and all of a sudden everybody starts feeling good about themselves.
So Steve, it's 10:27 p.m. on 9/20, and I just heard you predict the Illini are going to win a CFP game.
Well, I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
I'll tell you the negative, though. Even if they run the table, I mean, obviously you beat Ohio State if you run the table. Let's just say that they're 10-2 at the end of the season. Are they going to make the CFP?
All depends on if Penn State and Oregon can do a number on Indiana.
I'm just saying, with this big stinker sitting on the schedule, I don't know that they're making it even at 10-2.
Yeah, so they have to go undefeated the rest of the way, which just means easy. You just go USC and oh, wait a minute, Maryland looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
I don't know. I don't know if it's Maryland looking good or Wisconsin looking bad.
Yeah, wow.
Here's the thing: at the end of the day, if you lose, if you're 10-2, we'll see. It's going to depend on what everybody else does. You don't control your own destiny at 10-2. I mean, there's no way. But at the same time, if you're one of the top, if somebody's 9-3 from the Big Ten, you're probably still getting hit ahead of them, even if they're, because they've got the 3 losses. You only have 2, even with this loss, which seems like it should count for more, because it was like, I mean, I've never seen a rushing yards be 300-2. I've never seen anything like that. Like it was,
and the game was I felt like I was watching my grass grow. It was like this
paint drying,
not be over.
Here's the thing. So, Steve, I do have to ask you a question about that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but don't you feel like they don't have the depth in the secondary? When you lost Scott and Clark, and then Bailey goes out, Patterson goes out, don't you think that was I think there was a huge drop off once they got out of there?
I agree with half of what you said on that. They were not ready. Those guys were not ready to play, and didn't look like they'd been coached well either. I think if you were to take those guys, we lost actually at one point. We had our top 7 DBs unavailable to play, including Miles Scott, who was ineligible to play, even though he was still healthy. We actually went all the way. We had number 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 were in the game. I feel, having evaluated all these guys, I feel that we have enough talent. Even if you do go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, those guys can win Big Ten games. I think they're physically ready. I think they haven't played, and I mentioned this at halftime. They haven't played, and that frustrates me because they're not ready. They're not ready to play, and I don't know if you can get them ready to play, assuming most of those guys aren't going to be healthy to play in the coming weeks. Next week, in particular, against USC, Sabor Kareem has barely played. We have a whole set of freshmen and redshirt freshmen who haven't played at all. And when you try to throw them in there, I mentioned at halftime, Tyson Brooks came in, in the first half and just didn't even look like he knew what he was doing, and he hasn't played. And when I say hasn't played, I mean that literally he has not played. And against good competition yet this year. And when you try to throw them against Indiana, they're going to get toasted. So that's my problem, is that our second and third strings have not gotten, legitimate reps, opportunities to grow. I think the talent's there. I really do. This is not Alabama type talent in our second and string, but
I agree.
Man, I don't know.
The difference is this: they have talent.
I watched.
I'm sorry, but they're slow.
I don't know.
They're slow. The talent is better. They're better athletes, but they're slow. We have seen this 2 games, and when you play against superior athletes on the line, they look slow. As fast as Hank Beatty is, the balls that he was able to catch couldn't get by anybody. He couldn't break down the field to get past anybody. I'm telling you, the talent's there, but the speed has to change. I will say this again. Mike and I talked about this last year when Illinois went out to Oregon and got beat. That was so glaringly awful. Is it great? No. But if you can't get off lines, Indiana got to Luke Altmaier through the Illinois offensive line. It was comical. It was very comical. I don't know what the answer is. People are saying it's coaching. People can say it's talent. I don't know what it is, and I don't care about what they did last year. Last year has nothing to do with what's going on right now. They need to give him time to throw and make some adjustments. People are going to throw different packages at him. And if they're coaches, that's their job to pay to figure that out. And I'm sorry. It is frustrating. And for the people who are pissed off saying Luke looks scared, hell yeah, he's scared. I would be scared too, because you've been hit, 14, 15 times in 4 games? They're just dodging the bullet for him to be injured. So, yes, it's tough. We can sit here because we're sitting here eating our popcorn at home and drinking our Coke or beer, whatever, say get rid of the ball. But, hell, if you've been hitting people running in your face and you look left, you look right, sure, he's missed some assignments. I'm not saying he's perfect, but I know damn well he didn't have as much time to throw as the Indiana quarterback. So, to me, I give the Indiana quarterback, I will give Mendoza all the credit in the world, but there's nobody in the world going to sit and tell me Luke's not a good quarterback, because we've seen it when he's had time.
So, Brad, what were you going to say?
No, I don't mean, I'm not trying to pick on anyone. There was one player on the team who I'm sorry, when he went in the game in the secondary, he did not look like he belonged on the football field in that game. And whether it's speed or whatever, he didn't look like he should be out there. And it was stunning to me watching that. So I agree with you on the speed somewhat, but I also think like some of it again, I think like maybe that's speed, but you didn't have Bowick tonight, right? You don't have Lawfrey. You take away guys who can, so some of that speed. But the offense is still my big. The defense I get like once Scott went out. It's amazing how different the game was before Scott went out, right? I mean, like Indiana had moved. They only had a sack. They different things, and they were moving the ball there. But that targeting, I'm not saying they would have won, obviously. But what I'm saying is, at that time it's 14-7, and Indiana had scored on a blocked punt.
Right.
Then Scott goes out, and then they score every other possession for the rest of the game. I think. And it may have been. I don't know for sure. It was close. And so, did they make adjustments? I think, sure. But I also think they looked and said, Signetti mentioned it. You could see the quarterback come over. Hey, they're out of guys. You know what I mean? And so I think that, they can just, he's talking to him and they start throwing the ball. Just throw it. And that's a team who likes to run it because they knew they couldn't cover them. They just couldn't cover them. But the offense, on the other hand, is just terrible. How can they be that bad? And so this is one of those things that can't. I don't know. I just don't. How can they be that bad with all those veteran offensive linemen, with a veteran quarterback, veteran running backs, all those things, and then they're not good. They don't get any push up front. They don't give Altmaier enough time. I thought in the first half he had some time. He didn't throw the ball, but whatever. I don't know. I just didn't think that was a good thing. Now. I don't, I just don't understand. I just don't think that offense should be that bad there. So that's my I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying they should have won the game or anything like that the way it turned out, but I can't believe you can just do 3 and out. I mean, like they had at one point over like 6 or 7 drives, they had like 25 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just
the drive
insane.
chart was not borderline erotic tonight. It was 5 yards.
Maybe it was for Signetti.
Yeah, exactly. 5 plays and punt,
Signetti.
three plays and punt, touchdown, 3 plays and punt, 3 plays and punt, 4 plays and punt, 3 plays and punt, 8 plays field goal, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, 3 plays punt, and 5 plays interception. That is as bad of a drive chart as a human being can.
How about this statistic? Third downs, Illinois 1 for 10, Indiana 8 for 11.
And didn't Indiana miss their first 3?
Yeah.
So they went on a nice streak. You know, if you had DraftKings, you could have made a bet on how many they were going to get in a row and maybe won some money. By the way, while we were...
when Miles Scott went out, I checked like the betting lines, and I was amazed. It was already up to 17.5 for Indiana. So I hit that right away. I was like, well, that's crazy. And then, of course, I lost that one.
I was going to say I would have jumped if I was a betting man. I would have jumped all over that, going, man, 17.5. This is easy money.
Mm-hmm.
So real quickly, guys, Delete Me makes it very quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make all of us vulnerable. Data brokers, they'll take your name, your contact information, your social security number, KED, your home address, even information about your family members could all be compiled by data brokers and sold online. So have you ever been the victim of identity theft, harassment, doxing? If you haven't, you probably know somebody who has. Delete Me can help. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me now at a special discount for Illini Guys listeners. Today, get 20% off of your Delete Me plan by texting HIT to 64000. The only way to get 20% off is to text HIT to 64,000. That's HIT to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. So is there any way we can paint this as we now have USC exactly where we want them, and they're not going to take the Illini seriously? And so they're going to come to town, they're going to overlook the Illini, and we're going to see an unbelievable comeback by the Fighting Illini. Brad, any thoughts on that?
Here's the thing. I think the one thing is sometimes you have different ways that you handle like adversity in this situation. We've had bad losses in the past, and you can bounce back from them. I mean, a lot of people saying, I got numerous texts and messages after the game like, I don't think they can bounce back from this. And I don't disagree with that, that it's hard. But at the same time, if anything, if you're a competitor, you come back next week and you probably play your best game of the year because you're realizing all the preparation and all the things you have to do to not suck. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you don't want to get that feeling again. And so I think that's someone deleted the linebacker. I will say this. I thought there's only one linebacker who played well. That's pretty good.
Rosiak was in on some tackles.
I thought Rosiak actually did a pretty good job. He was around the football and he made some plays. But overall, if you're a competitor though, you bounce back and you're going to have your best game of the year. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna come ready to go. And I think that's what you have to look at and say, you know what, still one loss. Even if they had lost on a last second field goal, guess what? They'd still have one loss. So, that's the way it goes. And it hurts and it was hard. And trust me, I was not a happy camper watching that, but it is what it is. You got to bounce back and play next week.
Yeah. And let me throw one thing out there, as a sales guy, you have some horrific days or even months in sales, and you got to kind of put it behind you and you don't have the luxury of thinking about it. And I think sometimes for these guys, they're probably in the same boat, as players and coaches. They don't have time to worry about last week's game because last week's game could be next week's game. So they have to figure out a way to learn from it and move forward. Matt, I'm going to ask a leading question here, but was the mood somber in the Illini locker room?
Shit sandwich. The phrase "shit sandwich" was used 5 times, and I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, that was your middle linebacker described the whole experience tonight as a shit sandwich 5 times. So, yeah, it was not good. Yours truly managed to ask Brett Bielema the question about slow starts in the first half, and to his credit, and God bless his heart, he told me that he thought Illinois stayed consistent the whole night. They didn't play good in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. So, and God bless his. I mean, he's not wrong. So, I mean, it's been a long time since I covered one of these, and it's the first time for me on the Illini beat. So,
do they have four people in the back or defensive backfield, or are we going to see Gabe Akas with his first time ever at safety?
7 of their top 8 are now hurt.
So basically, the defensive backfield of this year has become the running back room of last year.
Basically, if you were a subscriber of Illini Guys and you were following our coverage of the second and third team units on defense during the times in which I was allowed to watch team in either spring or in preseason camp, you are fully in detailed into what Illini might look like next Saturday against Southern California. So they might get some guys back. Bielema finally said that we're probably going to get some news on Xavier Scott on Monday. I don't imagine that's going to be all that positive. I think we've seen the last of Xavier Scott. So Matt Bailey is concussed. So Lord knows how that's going to go. We'll see. Like, I don't know what – I mean, some of these are minor, but some of these – it's 7 out of their top 8. It's not like the guys that weren't playing because the coaching staff was holding it against them for some strange reason. Like, the guys that are out there are out there for a reason, and not only did they get hurt, but a lot of them weren't playing well anyway. Matt Bailey wasn't playing well before he got concussed. Lord knows Matt Krasevich wasn't playing well before he got hurt. So, it is what it is.
To help Caleb with shedding blockers. It was almost a human shield on a couple of those.
I mean,
runs.
Caleb needed a lot of help tonight, Mike, because guess what? There was a point in like the second quarter where he was the only like projected starter on the field in the secondary. So Caleb needed a lot of help tonight.
Yeah. So.
Did you see Signetti's quote after the game?
No.
He basically said they couldn't stop us. They couldn't match up on the perimeter, and then we broke their will.
Accurate.
And that's about the whole game and the whole thing in a nutshell, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not going to claim that he was inaccurate in either one of those 3 things he said.
No, I think he was spot on.
They did all 3 of those things.
Summarized it much more succinctly.
I mean, here's the crazy thing, right? And I'll tell you guys. I submitted my grades with like 8 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter for IlliniGuys.com. Okay, and this is a true story. I looked down and I had given run defense a D-, and then I got basically almost to the finals. I looked at the final stats like right before the end, and Indiana had 300 yards of rushing offense once again for the 4th straight week. So I was like, no, Larry, you know what? But we're giving that one an F too. Like I tried. Like, I mean, I think I gave special teams a D- because David made the field goal right before half.
Illinois was only 310 yards behind him in rushing.
Right. Remember when I told you, like, the team that ran the football and stopped the run was probably going to win? I mean, if you're 310 yards behind the team that others, guess what? The margin's going to be 53. That's the long and the short of this. But yeah, I mean, I had half of mine to go just straight Fs for the grades. I mean, I don't think anybody would have told me. I don't think anybody.
Right. We'll see if anybody pushes back on YouTube.
Wait,
I'm not seeing.
I haven't read it yet, Matt. Who did you not give an F to?
Special teams because David made the field goal at the end of the half. And every kickoff that he's had is still going through he still has a streak. I gave it a D-. I gave special teams a D-. I know they had the block kick. Here's the embarrassing thing. I don't even know if Bielema should have said this. I probably could have picked it out on film. Indiana had 10 guys on the field for that punt block that went back for a touchdown.
Oh, really?
Only 10.
If you don't block one of the, I mean, look, let's be real honest with you. Illinois made.
That's why the guy was blocking. There was an invisible guy out there.
Exactly.
You just couldn't see him. That's who that one guy was blocking. That's why.
Wasn't it ironic
that
within like 3 plays of each other, you got one team that doesn't block on a punt, and then you have another team who decides not to even cover a guy who's going out for a pass. So
all of the irony, Sturdy, like if Indiana had 11 guys on punt block, maybe Kellen Clemens gets tackled and it doesn't go back for a touchdown. Like, I don't know. Like, but Indiana was able to get a touchdown off of a punt block with 10 guys on the field. That's how they scored their first touchdown. That was the like total. That was how the ball started to roll down the hill tonight.
So was the media food good?
I mean, whatever. Like, it was free.
Yeah.
I always say the food was free.
Was it better than the cellophane sandwiches with one piece of some sort of meat in it that you get over at Purdue basketball games?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yes.
Just trying to figure out in my mind when I have to go to road games which ones I want to go to.
I mean, I don't know what they serve you in Assembly Hall across the street, but whatever. I mean, and the other thing was interesting was we got 2 players. It was Dylan Rosiak and Luke Altmaier. And to his ever-loving credit, Luke could have walked in there and said, "Hey, what the hell do you want me to do? Like, I'm on my wallet 3/4 of the time." But he said he didn't play very well either, and he played, but like he kept saying, "I'm playing with bad eyes," which to me is a severe indication that he started looking at the rush early in the first quarter, and he wasn't looking down the field. He wasn't trying to make plays. He was running into a couple of those sacks. He's played bad, and the cherry on top of this, what Sunday is, it doesn't get any easier because Southern Cal is coming for Big Noon kickoff next weekend, and I mean they're really, really good. And right now Illinois is really, really not. Especially in the first halves of these 4 games. And you found out, you effed around and found out what happens when you don't play well in the first 30 minutes, because you might find yourself in a deficit that you can't recover from anyway.
So yeah, the one question I have is, does anybody have a diagnosis for why you can have an offensive line come back probably bigger, stronger, faster than they were last year, and they suddenly can't figure out how to block people? I mean, I'll let Steve answer before Matt.
No, I was going to say, actually, complacency. I think a couple of those guys, I'm not going to name names, got paid for the first time. They're, got real money. And they stopped working hard, and they thought, hey, I've got some money in my pocket, and the NFL will probably be there for me, if I just do the same thing and don't work to improve. And they're not playing as well. And I don't know, am I allowed to call people out? Right tackle, who's one of the worst rated players in NCAA right now, and it shocks me. I can't believe he finished playing the game on the field. Like, surely we have somebody else out there who can do better than that.
They don't
have somebody else that we could.
Well, I know that they don't, Steve.
Desmond
Flat
Schuster?
out, I know they don't.
And that's the amazing thing to me with the number of guys that
Brandon
Brett
Hansen?
Bielema.
No, they don't think he's a tackle.
Move Henderson to tackle, Hansen at guard. There has to be a way. We have 105 scholarships, Matt. I mean, Illinois has struggled through doldrums like this. I've seen games like this too many times, and very often, it's because we have nobody, and we move a defensive lineman to offensive lineman or vice versa, and that's all we can do. Well, we have 105. We have 105 guys on scholarship at least this year, and there's no reason we should be stuck in the same quandary as we've been in the bad years.
Okay, here's the quote. Here's the quote from the head coach. I don't like what we're asking them to do is something that we're going to have to seriously look at. There's something going on with blitz pickup and honestly blitz recognition.
Yeah,
so it's clear.
I say that right. Hayden Fagan can't do that. He just can't. He's terrible. Stop asking him to do it.
Well, when you get to the tailback, like trying to block somebody, you've already failed. Like let's be real. Like and the fact of the matter is that like, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, Steve. Like they don't. Like either you think Bart Miller's an idiot, or like the idea is like they don't have anybody else that can play, like, and that's why they paid J.C. Davis, and that's why they paid Melvin Priestley, and that's why they paid the people that they've paid. Like, I'm telling you, they don't. I'm telling you, the fact of the reason why J.C. Davis was like put through like nothing in preseason camp once he got the turf toe was because we don't have anybody else. Because like, first of all, Aiden Knapp is hurt. Mm-hmm. So like that would have been the emergency break glass that they don't want to do because they want to redshirt him so he can play next year.
But the 5 for 5, that kind of becomes irrelevant, right?
Well, that hasn't passed yet.
Yeah, but it will.
So like, I mean, they're not going to put Aiden Knapp out there because like if they don't know, right? So like, and they're not going to put.
They may not have a choice.
So they know. So like, I mean, if they knew, he would have played at this point, like, and he hasn't because he's been hurt, but also like that's always been on the table, like, and so they don't know if he can get grandfathered. They don't know any of that. So like, I'm just telling you, like, you brought these 5 back for a reason, and so like,
that reason is a mystery right now.
Well, the reason is that like that's the same offensive line that basically physically pushed around South Carolina for 60 minutes.
Exactly.
It's the same one. It's absolutely the same one. So the fact of the matter is that especially I think some of the first half doldrums has been people have figured out how Illinois is picking up blitzes and how we can get around that. And I think that there has to be an adjustment made. Bielema was very, very adamant that we have got to figure out what we're asking them to do, and if what we're asking them to do is something that they can do. And that does not sound to me, and when coaches have said that in postgame or in practice or coming out of practice, that does not sound like we are going to play new guys. That sounds like we are going to ask these 5 guys to do something different. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, the one thing I would say, Matt, is that when you do a double A gap blitz, which is what we saw a couple times tonight, and I highlighted this last week, the tailback has to pick up one of those guys, has to. That's the only way to do that. You either get the ball out quick or the tailback picks up somebody in the middle. And I highlighted this one last week. Caden Fagan started to set up the block in the middle and then hopped outside and blocked nobody, and his man sacked the quarterback last week. That happened twice in the first half, and at halftime I mentioned that we just got to stop asking him to do this. He clearly can't do it. He did it again in the second half. So if you're assigning him to block somebody, stop it. Like, you've got to do something else. So, I mean, maybe that's what you're talking about, is we're just going to have to shift our blitz.
That's probably part of what we're going to be talking about in the building on Sunday and Monday. But, like, we're also going to be talking about, number 9's got to get the ball out quicker, too.
Yeah.
Like,
no, you're right.
Asking Caden Fagan to pick up a full block and knock somebody on their ass is not going to be a method that works. Like, you've got, if you're seeing that and he's one-on-one on somebody, guess what? 9's got to get the ball out. And he can't scramble around. And he can't do these dancing stuff. Back foot hits the ground, ball comes out.
Yeah, you're right.
Period.
I mean,
and that's
basically both those things have to happen, and neither of them are happening right now. So
right.
And just for people who are used to things, St. Dominic's Rosary is back, and he's just as positive in football as he is in basketball.
Is he in basketball?
Miserable existence. No, I look. It's interesting to me. Like I said, I always default to the fact that whatever you need to do to recruit, you got to get the players here. if the to me the thing is we know Brett Bielema has recruited him in the past, and with Wisconsin struggling so much with Luke Fickell, can you go up and get the old guys that Brett used to get, and try to bring them down, use some of that. And then the other thing you're going to have to ask, and I'm not calling for anybody's head, but if your offensive line isn't playing well and you're not recruiting the people you want, then you have to look at the offensive line coach and say, is there something we can do different or better there? And I don't know the state of American football's offensive line coaches. So, maybe there's a better guy, maybe there's not. I don't know about that, but as a coach, you have to look at that as a head coach and say, is there a way to improve my team? Is that an alternative?
It's called the guy on the home sideline who coaches offensive line was really, really good tonight. Once again, his name's Bob Bostad. Like, the fact of the matter is that, like, if you want to, like, the fact that Wisconsin can't be Wisconsin right now is because Bob Bostad's not in Madison, and I fully believe that. So there's a reason why Cignetti retained one assistant coach when he got the job here in Bloomington, and it was Bob Bostad. Like, I'll go further, Mike. Like, flip it. Like, the 26 class has gotten a little bit better, but at the line of scrimmage, Illinois has not recruited worth a damn, like, since Brett Bielema got here.
And that's where where I would put my money if I had an NIL budget. I would put my money at the lines, and the only reason I say that is because I've watched enough football that I've seen people like Brad Johnson win a Super Bowl. And it's because he had people in front of him. I mean, if you want to go back into ancient times, the 91 Redskins are statistically one of the most dominant football NFL teams. And I forget who the quarterback was, but he got sacked 3 times in that season. And he's a guy that nobody will ever, confuse with Joe Montana or Steve Young. So to me, if I'm going to invest my money, I'm going to invest it in offense and defensive line, figuring that if they can put pressure on a quarterback and protect a quarterback, I don't need as much talent in the other positions. That's just me, though.
No, I think you're philosophically, I think you're right, Mike. But, like, I don't think Illinois is going to be the highest bidder for Cameron Wagner in the 2027 class. Like,
I don't know that you go at that level, but you go higher than what we've been doing.
Well, okay. Like,
here's my thing.
Go ahead.
At the end of the day, though, you got to have a better offensive line than they have. I'm not saying that they're, we can say this guy, that guy, whatever. Does Indiana have a bunch of guys who are highly paid offensive linemen, or they have guys? How many guys do they have that came from James Madison? What, they bring 13 players with?
I mean, most of them are on defense, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, Brad, and that's the part. That's the part you guys.
They're playing at a high level. Yeah. They're playing.
You guys missed that part because I think part of the reason why Cignetti's done so well is I think he's done a Jimmy Johnson. He came in, he knew guys at that level who were good enough to play at this level, and he was able to grab really good players at pennies on the dollar or dimes on the dollar.
Right, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, they have good players. You have to be able to find good players. And we can talk all this money and this and that and the NIL and all that crap. Put good players out there, find them wherever they are, and you can say it's a bidding war. There are a million good offensive players running around there you can stick in that would play better than what Illinois is putting out there on the offensive line. I mean, they're all over. I'm not sure the 4 of us couldn't block better than some of those guys are right now. I mean, I could just be in the.
I don't want to. And part of it's want to, and I don't want to.
Here's the thing: just being in the way might be more effective, or attempting to be in the way might be more effective right now to what they're doing. So that's what I want to. But I really feel like they need to do a better job of that, and that's part of talent evaluation. Is part of that, So, but the other side I would say is, like, when guys don't play well. I mean, and it goes back to the first week. Brett Bielema we talked about this on that one. Remember Bielema talking about Henderson he looked like he's trying to play his way out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
You're winning that game regardless. Play his way out of the lineup. This is my problem with all this stuff. Even if you think he's the better guy, bench. I mean, I'm not a Bob Knight fan, but man, when he said, it's a great, when your butt hits that bench and you figure it out, it sends message to brain, and brain does all that stuff. I mean, man, that's the most effective way. Sit him down, say, sit out.
They did bring in Brandon Henson. I mean, in that game, for a couple series, but then, we haven't seen anything else. And of course, cohesion is important on the offensive line. It's very important. But I think you're right. When somebody's dogging it out there, even if he is your best player, you got to bench him to make sure he plays his best as your best player.
Yeah, Rippon.
Right.
Rippon.
Can I make one point too? Is that and I've had this concern for 4 weeks now. Mike, I think I told you this last week, either that or on some other platform. When we hear in preseason camp that we're resting 3 starters and it's going to be fine, they've played a lot of football, whatever, blah blah blah. No, I'm not buying it anymore. I think a part of that, I had Bart Miller tell me on Tuesday he wasn't fully confident that they could go as much tempo as they wanted because the conditioning wasn't there because the guys weren't in fall camp all the time. Like Brandon Henderson was out sometimes. Brandon Hansen was out sometimes. Josh Kreutz was out for a couple of days, here and there. And Melvin Priestley was out. And we didn't have a healthy first or second string tackle for a couple of weeks. All of this is conditioning. All of this is but if they're not repping in preseason camp and getting that cohesion that I think was important, even though that they've played a lot of football and all this stuff, I think that's part of what you're seeing now. I don't think these guys got an adequate assessment of what they can and can't do in 2025 because they weren't out there. And so they all thought that this would all come back when game 1 showed up and it's not showing up. So, but I tell you what they did find out, Steve, and all everybody is that when they were playing backups, I think Bart Miller and Brett Bielema and Barry Lunny figured out, holy crud, the guys we got behind our 5 aren't up to snuff yet. They're not ready. There's a lot of people probably on our boards that want Josh Kreutz to sit. Great, play TJ McMillan. The one time he got out there, he had to hold his dude. Otherwise, there'd have been a second punt block. Because he's in a guard on punt block. He basically had to tackle a dude, in order for Kellen Clemens to not get his second punt blocked. So he can't he's the backup center. So I'm just telling you guys all of this stuff that we've learned about all of this O-line depth and all this stuff. No. They didn't get any of that done in preseason camp, and the chickens are coming home to roost on that one. And I think it's led to the poor starts in each of these 4 games. I really do. But I don't know how much money I got in my wallet right now, but I can bet you the 5 guys that I know that are going to start against Southern Cal, because I just don't think that they have. I just don't think Brett Bielema, Barry Lunny, and Bart Miller think that they can put anybody else out there that's going to get the job done. And we got to make it work with these guys, and they don't have a whole lot of time because USC's got some. They've reloaded that defensive line from 2024 to 2025, and they're going to come. They're going to come for Illinois, and so, and honestly, Barry's got to scheme it up so Luke can get the ball out. But this offensive line problem that we've been talking about is, I think, a byproduct of preseason camp just being a complete disaster up front. In terms of injuries, in terms of cohesion, and in terms of chemistry. And I think it was not going to be solved in September. It really wasn't. I didn't think so. I think they were going to have to hang on. And right now you're seeing the results of that.
Well, the challenge is you've got 3 wrecking machines coming up in the next 4 weeks with USC.
Yeah, it doesn't get you just highlighted my column, Mike Hadley, because it doesn't get any easier, boy.
Because even Purdue can put it together for short stretches, but Purdue's been Illinois' kryptonite. And again, I've seen people give Washington a W automatically, and I'm thinking to myself, if I look at Washington's record at home over the last 10 years, that's not a W. For anyone outside of Ohio State and
But I know who Washington has scheming it up on defense, and I'm sure he's looking up at Illinois' front going, yeah, oh boy, I can't wait for that. Like, yeah. I mean, that's why.
So what do they do then? We don't have a ton of time here, but what do you do? Do you start going with two tight ends? I mean,
no. I mean, I think you've got to figure out, like, first of all, you've got to stop putting middle blitzes on Josh Kreutz because, like, I mean, Steve can exemplify this even better than I can, but, like, if you are the center, like, there is a point in which you are not blocking with two hands. Like after, right. Like, so like asking Josh Kreutz to snap the ball and then like move and go get a guy, it's probably not all that realistic. That's why he's got a guard to his left and a guard to his right, and they probably need to be doing their job. So like I really think that, again, Brett Bielema and Bart Miller are going to get in the lab and go, hey, this thing we've been doing for a while, like against certain blitz schemes, we got to do it differently. Like we have to. Like we're not putting in our guys in a position to succeed. Barry Lunny said it succinctly on Monday, guys. We got to execute better and we got to scheme it up better. That's flat out.
Is this an issue where they don't know what to do? Because in my experience as a trainer, when people don't know what to do, they don't do much of anything. And that seems like what we've seen happen. And I'm almost wondering, like, do they not know? Like, do they get confused? Or two guys, and instead of knowing that I'm going to get the guy on the left and somebody else gets the guy on the right, I mean, it looks like they don't know what they're doing right now. I mean, I don't know.
Steve, you want to take this one?
Yeah, like I mentioned, like they clearly thought that Caden Fagan could handle this. He's a big guy. Maybe he can slow people down. That's done. I mean, clearly that's just not going to happen. So I will tell you, NFL teams sometimes have a third down back who's not a very good receiver and not very fast because he can block. I mean, A-gap blitzes are not new.
So is Jordan Anderson our guy then? I mean,
maybe. I don't know if you block, but there's one other aspect of this too that we're also failing at. We've talked about getting Luke Altmaier getting the ball out more quickly, right? The other thing that everybody does when you got A-gap blitzes, especially a double A-gap blitz, which we've seen at different times in recent weeks, you have to have somebody who can get out there quick behind the tackles. And I haven't seen that yet. I honestly, as I went back over a couple of those plays in recent weeks, and we have nobody over there at all. We got to fix that too. I mean, the classic thinking is when you have blitzes, you throw to where the blitz came from, and we're not doing that at all. We're trying to get out on the perimeter to get the ball out quickly, but obviously the other teams are ready for that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree with you. Isn't there probably everybody was asking, why is Lawfrey starting at the beginning of the year? Why is he the starter? Maybe that's why. I mean, maybe that. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe there's more to it than just looking like this guy or that guy or whatever. He obviously, maybe he's in the right position, at least slows guys down a little bit. The other thing,
sorry, Brad, he got held out tonight. He went through warm up and then Bielema and the coaching staff just said, no, we're not putting you out there.
Yeah. Well, so again, you didn't have Lawfrey, you didn't have Bowick. Those are obviously guys who make plays and contested catches and
at least touchdowns.
Like yeah. All he does is catch touchdowns. No, so I think that was. But no, the one thing, what I saw tonight was they made and Luke talked about eyes. I think we go back to that a little bit too. I'm watching this and I'm watching on TV, and I'm looking out there and I'm seeing them have. There was one possession where they had trips left, and Indiana had two DBs on that side of the field, and we threw it to the right. I mean, those are just little things. Like, I thought for sure, they're going to throw that bubble screen to Beatty, and he's going to have two blockers in front of him, and he's going to run. And sure enough, even the outside linebacker on that side, he came, and so it was two covering three, and we went the other way. It was just there's little things like that, and so I think it's a lot of it is just execution is such a big part. It seems so simple, like. Just look at the numbers and, where we're going to run. We have these numbers. We're going to pass all in the RPOs and where we're going to go. But, I mean, sometimes it's just execution. And he's got to execute better. Dylan Rosiak said it best. That's my last thing I'm going to say. Said, season's not over. All our goals are still available. We just have to eat this shit sandwich and keep on going. And that's it in a nutshell. That's what you got to do. So
and look, they're not fans. They're not fans. They don't have the luxury of sitting around and pining and getting pissed off about it. They got to get ready for USC. And as fans, we can sit there and go, what about this? What about that? And get really fired up. And they have to leave. They got to basically swallow the end of the shit sandwich and move forward.
Right. And then look, all of the offensive line issues that we're talking about don't have a damn thing to do with Indiana scoring touchdowns on its last 7 drives. Like, I'm sorry. Like Luke got sacked a lot. Like, they didn't run the ball worth a darn. Like, none of those things have anything to do with Indiana scoring touchdowns in their last 7 drives. None of them. So, I mean, if you don't think Aaron Henry is on that bus trying to figure out what's going on right now, like, you got another thing coming too.
Yeah. Well, Indiana made sure we hit the over.
Yeah. I mean, I'm the idiot that took Illinois to cover. So,
well, I thought Illinois would score 30. I really thought they'd score 30 points. I got
to be honest with you. Dylan Sin scared the hell out of me. So I was like, because I started looking in at what scared me was, again, I kept thinking I'm watching films versus, lower level competition. But Illinois was beating up people. They were just slaughtering them. And the quickness looked really big on tape. And I was hoping that the quickness and speed would be diminished by moving up and playing another Big Ten team. It was not.
No.
So that this next week is going to be a tough test for them, but at the same time, this team has beaten teams that were really good, and we'll see where their head is. They're going to be really light in the defensive backfield, and I'm not certain what coaching plan there is for your first 7 of your first 8 guys not playing.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be the Aaron Henry, like, spin the wheel and see who I got, like, in my defensive backfield. Like, I don't know, like, so, but he's got to figure some stuff out too, because they were getting manhandled up front themselves, and then you're asking guys like, that aren't capable of making tackles. Like the tackle thing, they missed 10 tackles against Western Michigan. I don't want to know what the number is tonight.
They did that on one play.
I mean, I don't know what the number is tonight, but like that's getting contagious too. I asked Dylan Rosiak that, and he says, yeah, it can get contagious, but if you don't nip it and get it cut out immediately, like cancer. And I think that they need to because USC's got some dynamic athletes and a dynamic quarterback that'll make them miss tackles too. So, former Bears coach John Fox kind of quoted it all and said, yeah, it's all a problem. Like, he was asked like what the problem was. He goes, it's all a problem. Like, tonight it was all.
God, I don't need a second Dallas Cowboys. I've already got one team doing this. I don't need to have 2. So just so people know, on Monday night, I am going to interview a USC insider, and this guy's really good. We've had him on our radio show, Cooper Perkins. So he's going to be excellent. He's going to give us a good idea of what's coming at us, for Illini fans. And then, of course, we will have our coverage next weekend of the game. And again, as fans, I would just say, as fans, we have the luxury of running this thing over and over and getting frustrated. But they, as players, and coaches, they've got to really start planning right now for what they're going to do next week so that this doesn't happen again. I mean, Steve, were you ever on a team that got beat 63-10?
Oh yeah. So,
okay.
The brilliance, the low point probably of my whole football career. I mean, my senior year at Springfield High School, we won 0 games.
Oof.
Won 0 games. I don't know that it was ever 63-10, but I will tell you, one year we scheduled the best team one of the best teams in the state for our homecoming game, and they made sure we knew about it. And I know we only scored 9. I think they scored somewhere around 60. And one of the lowest points I ever had is that the coach asked me, what are we going to do about this? And I said, like, isn't that your job? And and then I broke this finger. This finger during that game, and played the rest of the year. And the tricky thing is, I also played the violin, and so I had to play with a broken finger violin for a long, long time. That was a bad day. But yeah, so this has happened. Our homecoming game too. So you have to go to the dance after that too.
Yeah,
bad day.
I was lucky.
You get that sympathy, love, and it's all good.
No.
Oh.
None of that. No, that was a bad day.
Yeah,
But we got hammered several times that year. But yeah, I've experienced it. Obviously, we went on to win 0 games. Barely even got our feet under us for the rest of that year. Really, like I mentioned to Brad probably before you got on, that best thing I can get as far as being positive is that I remember that 1989 Steelers season like yesterday, and that the Steelers lost 95-10 in their first 2 games, and just absolutely were just not trying, didn't look like they were competent at all. You win a couple games, you get your feet under you, there's still a whole season ahead of you. You can actually still turn this around. So there's a way to get this done.
When they won all those Super Bowls in the 70s, right? Didn't they win 4 in the 70s or something like that?
4 in 6 years, yeah.
Yeah, one of those years they lost a game 51-0 in that 6-year span.
I think you're right. They did not make the Super Bowl that year. I do know.
No, but they lost really bad. So hey, there's always hope. You're never as I always look at this. You're never as bad. We're never going to be as bad as we are right now. Never going to feel as good as they did after this. Probably not as good as they were when they beat South Carolina last year, or were running up the score against somebody last year. I mean, so the highs and lows, you got to drop them out and find the middle ground. Next week they got to compete. I mean, even if they lose to USC, you got to compete.
Yeah, because I expect them to be out of the top 25 after this.
It'd be hard to leave them in there, but I think they'll probably still. I mean, here's the thing: Notre Dame lost twice. They're still in.
I know, but it's Notre Dame. Illinois is not Notre Dame.
Also, the voters don't pay enough attention. They're gonna see this and drop us 10. There's gonna be a lot of people that still put us in the top 20. I'll bet.
Mm-hmm.
We don't deserve to be in the top 25.
It depends how you look at it. Is it be and then I look at today though, and we say that, but Western Michigan, Toledo had won 17 straight MAC openers, and Western Michigan beat them 14-13 last week. Behind, in the MAC where they score like 1 million points every game, they won 14-13. I don't think that defense from Western Michigan is that bad. I mean, they gave Michigan State some fits, things like that. Duke is not as bad as Illinois made them look either. I mean, I think they're going to probably win 7 or 8 games. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily bad. I mean, tonight, Illinois was bad. I mean, there's no way to put it about. But that doesn't mean that they can't win 8 games this year. And I still think, they got to get healthy first of all, but they'll figure some things out and find a better way to do it. And you're never as bad as your worst game and never as good as your best.
I agree. I led with that. That was my.
Oh, good. I wasn't on here for that. See?
Yeah.
So I didn't even know it. So God, now our picks are the same and we're thinking of the same thing.
How did we do in picks, by the way? I didn't even.
We lost. I think we missed every game.
Did we really?
No, we didn't. We didn't. We got Miami.
You jumped to me.
We're 1-2. Exactly. 1-2. We're 1-2.
Make me pick first next week, huh?
I am going to make you pick first. I'm going optional. Whatever Mike says, go the other way.
Well, I tell you though, again, I know nobody wants to hear this, and everybody wants to fire, this guy and that guy and the other guy. I don't think Tank Wright is doing anything that's causing this team to get injured. And sometimes it's just people get injured. I'll tell you what, I was really hoping Weish was be good enough to play in running back. I was really hoping he might get out there, but there's got to be, when it comes down to it, as a coach, you've got to figure out how you're going to recruit the best players possible, and that's a tough business when you've got certain teams out there throwing around 40 million, and you might have 6 or 9 million, and so that means you have to identify people, and they have to turn into super studs, and then you got to hope they don't get hurt. So there's a lot of challenges, but I still think the Duke game was worse than this in basketball. Now, everybody's, because I think now Brett has been now he's got to taste the horrible loss, and Brad Underwood had to do that last year. But I don't know. I have faith that Bielema is going to get this thing righted. But I do think there's going to be some tough weeks here when you factor in injuries with the quality of teams that Illinois is playing. Now, I might be more apt to dive off to the side if this happens to against Purdue. If we lose to Purdue big time, then I'm going to be.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is that's the only comparable thing we've seen under Bielema. That Purdue loss 2 years ago, when they kind of quit in the whole second half. That's the only thing we've seen that was kind of like this under Bielema. So they came back from that. I mean, we didn't make a bowl that year, but they did come back from that and put on a credible performance for the rest of that year. So hopefully he remembers how to turn a team around like that. So we've got a heck of a lot more talent than we had at that time. Not only is the roster huge, but we've been able to fill in with veterans, through transfers. So
yeah,
you would think that there has to be a solution out there to turn this around. So
we will see if they're going to find it. Brad, you got any final thoughts?
No, I'm all thought it out. I'm just ready to move on.
Same here. So
I thought really hard about it. I think I might not give an F to the wide receivers tonight in response to Matt's question.
Hey, they didn't have any drops, did they?
No, I know. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Wasn't terrible, but wasn't great. But again,
I could give them a D.
Maybe even a C-. Yeah. Well, hey, folks, we'll be back Monday night with that. And you never know when Brad and I will have time that we can, between our two schedules, when we can get an extra podcast in there. The 5 for 5 is an interesting thing. We'll see how that goes. I think that's coming up in October. But, we will be Monday night. We'll have the USC preview. That will be maybe scarier than I wanted it to be. But, the Illinois is going into this like they're going to win the game, and we'll have to see how quickly Brett Bielema can turn this around. It's not going to be easy, but then again, players want to play games and they want to win games. So hopefully.
Hey, we said this before the game. If the Illinois wins, everybody's going to be like, getting tickets for the college football championship game. And if Illinois loses, we're going to be ready to fire everybody. So
Yep.
Spot on, baby.
Little did we think it'd be quite this type of loss.
Yes. We were right on. We knew.
Yep. All right, folks. So until next time, go Illini.